stars be with you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Energetic Principles podcast. My name is Mel LaFera. I'm an astrologer and tarot consultant here in San Diego, California, and today we are going to be looking at the week ahead for October 14th through October 20th, 2024. And just as a friendly reminder, this is a general forecast, so take what resonates and leave the rest, because only you know you best. And of course, if you would like to go deeper with your own astrology, that is what I'm here for. Come on over to energeticprinciples.com and book your consultation today. All right, so let's think about these main themes for the week ahead. There's actually a lot going on in the skies. First off, we have the Sun-Mars square, and that happens first thing on Monday. And this is a crucial point in the Sun-Mars synodic cycle that always precedes before Mars goes retrograde. And so if you've been watching some of my other videos, you know that I keep telling you Mars is going to go retrograde on December 7th. So this is a key week that taps into what those retrograde energies are going to look like. And the Sun, being our point of awareness, is going to give us a clue as to what Mars is, I would say thinking, but more feeling, because Mars is in Cancer. And so the Sun squaring Mars brings up our drives, our motivations. It's very activating. It can be an ego booster or it can be an ego combustor. So there is that contentious energy or competitive energy or maybe hot-headed energy. And sometimes Mars can be a little bit insensitive when it is pursuing its independent desires. But being that it's in Cancer and the Sun is in Libra, we might be wrestling internally with being able to do that because we care about this and these people are in our lives. And so, you know, this kind of don't want to rock the boat, but the boat needs to be rocked tension. And when you rock the boat, how do you go about that? Do you shuttle around like a crab from side to side and do it more in a passive aggressive way? Or do you step up to Mars's challenge and the need to be direct and confident? And I think that brings us to the big event of the week, which is the Aries full moon. And I have already done an extensive video on the Aries full moon, which you can watch here, wherever it's going to pop up on the screen, or go over to the channel to see that broadcast. But this is also about, we're talking about Aries energy to the forefront, and it's going to be in a T-square with Mars and Pluto and Juno as well, which I talked a lot about in my video. But there is this strong Mars tension coming to the surface, which does bring up, once again, our ability to act, our courage, our confidence, our independent agendas, and taking initiative in life and how we go about to do that, right? And our ability to be brave to do so while not running roughshod over other people. So this will be a big theme this week, and really it's bridging the gap to early next week, which will have our Sun-Pluto square. And that will be the last time that the Sun actually squares Pluto in Capricorn. So this could be a very highlighting moment to what that Pluto and Capricorn journey is before it reaches its conjunction in Aquarius in January. We also have a Venus week. It's a very Venusian week, as Venus is other than the full moon and that Mars action, Venus is the one who's making moves in the sky. She's going to oppose Uranus, trine Neptune, sextile Pluto, and then move into Sagittarius, because she is in Scorpio right now in her sign of detriment, where, you know, she's in a Mars-ruled sign. But that just gives her an edge, I think. And so our Venuses have been on edge, and rightfully so. Sometimes they need to be. But there are going to be themes around relating, pleasure, balance and harmony, receptiveness and being open. And then also things like art and aesthetics and our values. And so these can be topics that we're going to be feeling into this week, along with these Mars-driven energies too. And so where Mars bursts, right, Venus is trying to harmonize and balance it out. So it's a very Venus-Mars week. So we can guarantee there will be interpersonal dynamics outside of us and within. All right, so let's go look at our chart to take a look at the week ahead. So here we have, starting off on Monday, October 14th. Let's just ride through the week real quick so we can see the celestial movement in action. So we start off with that Pisces moon, and it's basically just waxing forward, getting ready for that full moon in Aries that we see here on Thursday, and then it will cruise into Taurus and start to cool off a little bit, and takes us all the way to the end of the week where we see that Gemini moon on Sunday. So let's go back to Monday here. And on Monday, we have this energy of the Sun squaring Mars first thing, and then Venus opposing Uranus, while that Pisces moon moves from a conjunction with Saturn to a square with Jupiter. And so, there's this emphasis on going your own way, right? You've got that Sun-Mars action and Venus and Uranus together, that's can tend to create disruption and restlessness in partnerships, or have you, finding that what you value you're not as into anymore. Uranus has this very hot and cold energy where one second you're like passionate about this and the next you're like, no, that's not really speaking to me, or now I like this, or I need to free myself of what you were previously attracted to, or just even engaging with others. Sometimes it's as simple as just taking some space. You know what? It's like, okay, I just need a break. And so there is this, there's this connection with freedom and liberation that can come up here too. And Pisces moons, we're kind of feeling everything. Our sensitivities are definitely up. We have this Saturn connection, so there can be heavier weights, or you can be like me doing your 2023 taxes at the very last minute. And then the square to Jupiter tends to, a lot of times, especially with Jupiter now in Gemini, we're just going to be feeling into and thinking about the future and what we're learning and what we need to learn, what we want to say, how we communicate. And so, I would say give things space this day and meditate on it, right? That's what Pisces is good at. Like, go within, get to that spiritual flow, see what comes up. So now on Tuesday, we have still that Pisces moon going on, and it's going to actually move to Aries. So we get this interesting two-part day, right? We have this Pisces moon conjunct Neptune, and the Venus-Neptune trine is going on. Very creative morning, or a very hit the snooze button and just relax sort of morning. And it can also be just compassion maybe for other people, or what we're feeling, or what we're opening up to, or even imagining in our relationships and our interrelatedness. It kind of has that dreamy state. It can be very idealistic too. And it could be looking at where there have been ideals and whether or not that is in the best interest, or looking at the, the more compassionate side of things, where just the receptiveness softens a little bit, to be creative about what could be. Because later in the day, that moon is going to move into Aries, and that heat is going to come back, and there is just going to be a switch in the vibe, and that Mars story is probably going to come back online a little bit more. So Wednesday, we're getting ready for the full moon, right? Full moon is Thursday. We've got that moon in Aries. It's waxing, it's hot, it's dry, but it's not really doing anything. It's moving energy from the North Node to Chiron, but it's not making any of those traditional Ptolemaic aspects. So to me, it feels like Wednesday is more about, feeling into the self, focusing on your personal desires and your independence needs, and, what it is that you need. I mean, I think that's a big part of this full moon, is getting your needs met. And who can meet your needs best? You. So the Aries energy might be feeling into how you can take responsive action around that to and sometimes responsive action is going to require mustering up the courage to deal with something. And with Chiron involved, there can be some pain, or maybe some difficulty, or something that that you have to like collect everything you've learned and known, and that wisdom piece to be like, okay, well, I know better, or I know that this always gets in my way because it triggers me in some way, but you know what, not this time. I'm not going to let this trigger me, and I'm going to move through it. So Wednesday might be I feel like it's just a personal pep talk day, more than anything, to get you to Thursday, which will have our full moon in Aries. And once again, I definitely recommend watching the video that I did on the full moon in Aries, because I go much more into this interpersonal dynamic with Juno involved and our commitments, and how we're maybe stretched a little thin around tension with interrelatedness, and how to move forward there, and this idea of sometimes separation before reconciliation. And that can happen here when we have this more independent quality of the Aries moon coming up. I will say that this happens while we sleep here in the US, this full moon. So you might have a restless sleep Thursday morning. So if you wake up and you're like, wow, that was not very relaxing, that's probably, you can talk to Mars about that. We also have Venus sextiling Pluto that day, and moving, the moon is moving to square Pluto all day too. So there is this intensity around maybe if some anger comes up, or some resentment, or maybe these are past issues that you want to get past, and you're like, I don't want to feel this way anymore, but you have to confront maybe more instinctual dynamics, or something that's been kept secret or stuffed down in some way. And Venus sextiling Pluto is like, okay, well, if I really want to change and transform the situation, I got to work with this energy. I can feel it. It can really get its claws in me, but how do I harmonize it? How do I put it back into balance? And then not too long after that, Venus moves into Sag this day. So we get this Sagittarius energy. And so after processing intensity, we're probably going to start to move to this optimism, opening up to optimism and generosity and peace and freedom. And so I think that is going to be a really good shift. And maybe even just from an intellectual space where the mind can ease up a little bit and take its time, right? Because Jupiter is retrograde and will be ruling that Venus in Sagittarius. So I feel like by the end of the day, Thursday, on Jupiter's day, there is this sort of twist in the story. Now on Friday, we have this moon in Taurus, and the moon did move into Taurus on Thursday too, so that's why we kind of get that cooling down. But really on Friday, the moon is sextiling Saturn, it's moving to sextile Mars there, and so this cooling energy can help us get this patience and this sort of consideration of action, where we're like, okay, well, let me feel this out a little bit. Let me receive what it is I want to do, or how I want to carry on. Or maybe it's just, sometimes Aries full moons can be pretty intense, and say, a crisis pops up, and then the next day you're like, okay, I need some calm. I need to just recollect my energies. And I feel like Friday is a good day to recollect. Now on Saturday, we have another 2-part day where we have this Taurus moon energy. Here you can see it conjunct Uranus first thing. And then it will move into Gemini and oppose Venus later in the night. So it's almost like Saturday has this energy where it's like, okay, you got things to do, get it done. Do the chores. Do go to the stores, clean that little area that you've been thinking about doing, balance the books, like whatever it is you have to do that's more of a practical nature, so that at night you can get down with that Gemini moon Venus action, which might be wanting to party or get a little wild or just have your social night, right? So get all the stuff you got to do out of the way, and then let yourself loose later in the night. And so Sunday we have this Gemini moon, and this Gemini moon, it's funny because basically the whole day moves to square Saturn here, which feels like hangover energy to me personally. So don't get too wild. But who am I to say? And well, I just had this image of Okay, so I just had this image of Saturday too. So say we're out getting wild, right? We're having some fun. Moon opposing Venus can also sometimes stir up relations while it's happening too. Like say you say something, or you're having fun and then you bring up the issue that's been like on the mind, or that you've been stirring, and you're like bold about it but maybe at the wrong moment. So be selective about what you want to bring up while the moon is opposing Venus if you want to have a good time, because then the next day the moon squares Saturn and you're like, I regret that a little bit, or maybe that shouldn't have happened. So just side note, that came up intuitively. But Sunday, so we have this sort of slowing down mental processing of the week, where we might have lower energies. We might be it could be a little gloomy or a little negative, or maybe just, more challenged with some of the difficulties that brought up, maybe more just introspective, like maybe just need to go in and sort of meditate on some of the difficulties or blockages, or long-term processing that needs to go on after this week, because there's a lot going on. We have full moon fever, right? And then come to that place of understanding and acceptance, which I think is Pisces, hopefully Pisces' strong suit in high side. So, all right, well, let's take a look here at what we can do. What can we do to work with this energy? So, two things came up. So first, let's think outside the relational box, the relationship box. A lot of us tend to put our relationships into a certain box, and what they can look like, how they can be, how they can function, what we need from them, what we want from them, what people can give us. And so there could be the right energy this week to address limiting views or narrow thinking regarding your options in relating, whether you're in a relationship or not. It doesn't matter what type of relationship. Because if there's fear or maybe short-sightedness or self-doubt involved, then that experience of like growing with another, or attracting in the person that you're looking for, or making like a better situation that can grow and expand, because that's what Venus and Sag wants to do. We need to open our minds and to expand our horizons with what connection can look like. So open your mind and open your heart. Also, there was this idea that came up of lessening financial constraints. And I think this might be more of a Plutonian piece. But breaking out of old thought patterns, like challenge old thought patterns this week, especially around security worries or distorted thinking about money or assets, right? Because Mars and Pluto, Capricorn and Cancer energy, these are very security-oriented energies, as are Taurus, and we do have Taurus movements this week. And even Venus there. She might not be money, but she is value and comfort. And of course, if we're worried about assets and resources and money, then we're not very comfortable, right? So look into where there might be those financial constraints, whether they're real, because sometimes they are absolutely real, or not. But how do we emotionally deal with those? How do we mentally assess those worries or patterns? And really be able to affirm what we're grateful for, right? Because if we are able to look at what we're grateful for and interact with what we already have rather than what we don't have, that can help move our headspace and our emotions into a different place around financial issues. Also moving finances around, right? Like maybe it's time to cut some excesses, or, to lessen your material burdens, or reset your manifestation intentions. I just started this book, which I found very interesting already. It's called Happy Money. No one's paying me for this, but I thought I would share. It's The Japanese Art of Making Peace with Your Money by Kin Honda. And so I already found it interesting about this concept of happy money and unhappy money, and how that flow of energy impacts our lives and impacts our abundance and prosperity and our livelihood. So just a little shout out. But these are the things I'm thinking could be good to work with this week. So let us go ahead here and pull an animal before we leave. I don't know why I always refer to myself in the as we. Might be my Mars and Gemini. So let's see who wants to come up to walk with us this week for the full moon. Oh, the elephant. So the elephant is about learning from the past, which is interesting with some of the things I just brought up with what we can work with this week. Because elephant is like, you know, they talk about an elephant's memory. The elephant forgets nothing. Mars and Cancer might forget nothing, right? Cancer holds memories. The moon holds memories. And sometimes if we're holding on to memories for so long, or, you know, grievances, or like, you did this to me and this long ago and I'll never forget that. Sometimes we have to learn from the past. That's interesting. I kind of had a different message coming up, but that's the one I went with. So I'm going to stick with that first, but also learning from the past in the sense that if I did this before, or I acted this way, or I felt this way, and this was the result I got, then do I want to do that again? Because is that going to really facilitate how I want to feel, or how I want to move through the world, or how I want to take charge of my life? Because if it didn't work in the past, it's not going to work today, right? It's like that idea of, like, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. So learn from the past. Maybe forgive. You don't have to forget, but, well, maybe try to forget. Not too much. That's very contradictory. Anyways, elephant. Elephant comes up. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week ahead look. And if you want to get your own chart read, come on over to energeticprinciples.com, where I would love to sit down and look at your planets with you. And if you'd like to sign up for my monthly newsletter, The Heavenly Wind, you can do that on my website as well. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Tell me what's going on for you this full moon, or how you're feeling this week, or what you think of these videos. You know, it's always, I throw it out there and then I don't know how it's received. So it's always good to hear from you. Also, if you're listening to this on the podcast, leave a review wherever you listen, because that really helps me be bumped in the ranks. And what else? Well, you know, I just want to say, good luck this week. Grab that courage, feel into that Mars, absorb that Venus, think outside the relational box, and to grab a hold of your life. That's what Aries does, right? Aries is going to go out and get it. So you go out and get it in a way that feels good to you and is respectful to others. And as always, may the stars be with you.